The upcoming issue of Forbes has both our Midas list of the top venture capitalists and our billionaires list of the richest people in the world. And there was a really interesting intersection there around a Japanese billionaire named Masayoshi Son. Son is the founder and CEO of Softbank Group, which is this very large Japan-based multinational tech holding company. Readers who follow startups and venture capital and startup unicorns will be familiar with the name Softbank now, because in 2017, Masa and Softbank launched a historic, massive investment fund for startups called the Vision Fund. It was a $100 billion fund to invest no less than $100 million per check, and on average, over $400 million per company. What's also interesting is that Masa is famous for, in the 90s, becoming what he says was, for 3 days, the richest man in the world. He was investing in all of the dot-com companies that may be famous to readers and viewers. He wrote a huge check to Yahoo early on, which became a multi-billion-dollar stake. And he wrote a $20 million check to Alibaba, which then, even in the dot-com bubble bursting, he never sold, and now his stake is worth about $120 billion. So Softbank, owns 120 billion or so, depending on the stock movements of Alibaba. It owns all these other business units, and yet it's become this flashpoint of controversy for this Vision Fund. And so we thought at Forbes it would be the perfect time to sit down with Masa-san himself and hear directly from him about the controversies that have been facing Softbank, about the mistake he made investing in WeWork, and the lessons they've learned from investing and deploying this controversial $100 billion fund in the last several years. He was very, open about tactical mistakes, but he said that there was a difference between a tactical mistake and a strategic mistake. And that WeWork, for example, was a tactical mistake, but not a strategic mistake. They just had paid too high a valuation and had too much faith in the entrepreneur, in this case, the former CEO, Adam Neumann. So it was interesting because Masa in some ways was unrepentant, in some ways was talking about keeping going and staying the course more than I might have expected going in. Masa said something that was really interesting. He compared perception of what he's doing and what his funds are doing to a shadow. Over the course of 24 hours, a shadow can make an object look a lot bigger, a lot smaller, based on the time of day. But the object itself stays the same size, right? And so he was saying that basically Softbank and his ambitions are in the eye of the beholder, and that maybe sometimes we hype him, maybe sometimes we denigrate him, but he himself is unchanged. I think another sort of really interesting problem and challenge facing Softbank, and why this should matter to people, is that you have this billionaire leader with lots of assets and lots of powerful allies. The first Vision Fund was backed primarily by a group including the sovereign wealth funds of Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, but also Apple, Foxconn, Qualcomm. These are important funds and companies for the global economy. And so he has all these powerful allies who are backing him on a 300-year vision and this very long-term perspective. And I think the question that I had and Forbes had going into the story was, can that long-term perspective overcome and survive all the short-term doubts and challenges that you're facing?